The master hunter often appears in the guise of prey. When the farce ends, they'll finally understand what it means to be the mob boss's pure love interest. Or the spoiled young master's unforgettable crush. I've woven a giant web. And my prey is all of them. Folks. The full story is complete. So feel free to dive in. Gloomy French Fry reminds you, the main story begins now. I'd heard that Liam Yao, the most ruthless gang leader in New York City, went to the tea house every Wednesday night to listen to storytelling. So, I decided to sell flowers there. Freshly picked jasmine, strung with thin wire into bracelets or pinned as brooches. People bought them to wear on their wrists or pinned to their collars. The fragrant scent wafted gently, adding a touch of elegance. The tea house was often crowded and stuffy, so a well-placed jasmine scent was naturally very popular. As for Liam Yao, I always knew he sat in the private booth on the second floor. It was the best spot in the entire tea house for listening to the performance, offering an unobstructed view. But I only moved around the first floor hall, never once looking up. Once my orchids were sold, I'd turn and leave, never lingering. I was fishing, calm and patient. The fish that were meant to bite would do so on their own. Finally, one day, as I stepped out of the tea house, I saw a tall, imposing figure leaning against a stone pillar by the door. The cigarette in his hand glowed on and off, making his aura seem even colder and more oppressive. This man, who could make all of New York City tremble with a single stomp of his foot, was truly a figure who had climbed out of piles of dead bodies. Like a lord of the underworld. I heard he fled to New York in his early teens, surviving by carrying bags on the docks. The bloody struggles that earned him his current made his presence almost scorching. Even when he smiled, a hint of wickedness seeped from the corner of his lips, sending chills down one's spine. Even though I had imagined this countless times. When he actually walked towards me, step by step, I couldn't help but feel a pang of fear. I'd heard his greatest hobby was throwing people into the Hudson River to feed the fish. Not long ago, due to some business friction, he directly burned down the opposing party's cargo ship. Hundreds of people on board, ship and all, were buried at the bottom of the sea. Yet he profited immensely, completely unscathed. This man was undoubtedly darkness, an abyss. But I had to approach him, no matter how dangerous. I was fearless. He toyed with the lighter in his hand, his voice low, telling me not to be afraid. Then he glanced at my empty basket, regretting that I had sold out. Too bad. I wanted a string. I looked up, meeting his gaze, feigning composure. Sir, you can buy them tomorrow night. These flowers are beautiful. It was perfectly normal for a flower vendor like me not to recognize a mob boss. His calm eyes were dark and unreadable. After a long moment, he finally lowered his gaze and nodded at me, turning to get into the car that was already waiting by the roadside. If he would make an exception and come tomorrow night, I would be halfway to success. The next evening, I was already selling flowers early at the tea house entrance. As I bent down to help a little girl put on a jasmine bracelet, a shadow suddenly fell over me. I didn't need to look up to know that the fish I was waiting for had bitten. After putting on the bracelet, I straightened up and praised the little girl's beauty with a smile. Then, I pretended to casually glance at Liam Yao. He seemed to be in a good mood, looking at me and the flowers in my hand with interest. I looked up and smiled at him, utterly unguarded. asking if he wanted a bracelet or a brooch. He directly rolled up his sleeve and extended his wrist towards me. I picked a longer one from my basket and fastened it for him. He looked at the jasmine flowers on his wrist, his expression meaningful, as if recalling some long-buried memory. But I remained oblivious. "Sir. 2 cents. When he suddenly shifted his gaze from his wrist to my face. He seemed a bit shocked and amused. As if he thought I wouldn't dare ask for money. I guessed that he, and even his driver, might not have such a small amount on them. But I just looked at him expectantly, with no intention of backing down. The jasmine was grown by me, and the bracelet was strung by me. Why shouldn't I ask for money? Most importantly, if I didn't ask for his money, it would seem like I was deliberately trying to curry favor with him, to get close to him. That absolutely wouldn't do. But giving a silver dollar directly? Excuse me. I'm just an honest woman doing a small business. I can't afford that. It wasn't about being pretentious. I was betting he wouldn't want to shatter the benevolent image he had accidentally built in front of a strange girl. Especially since this girl and her jasmine flowers were so familiar. Almost like an old friend returning. When he good-naturedly told his driver to get change. The driver also looked shocked. Perhaps they were used to simply taking things by force and never expected such a turn of events. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. The driver seemed to think. I continued to hawk my flowers to passers-by. My expression unchanging. This man, whether smiling or silent, always seemed inscrutable, radiating danger. But in the glow of the setting sun, for a brief moment, the way he curved his lips into a slight smile was so gentle that it almost made me forget he was a butcher. No. I would never forget that. After the driver returned with the change, he solemnly gave me 2 cents and asked my name. I calmly told him. Sarah Fong. A good name. I'll remember it. He said nothing. Politely bade farewell. And then had someone follow me all night. Even if they followed me and investigated me. Only by investigating thoroughly would he remember who I was and understand what he owed me. Indeed. A few days later, as I was taking inventory in my flower shop, he walked in, dressed in a black trench coat, completely devoid of the mob boss's usual imposing aura. This friendliness was at odds with his usual gloomy and ruthless demeanor. Even his smile seemed to carry ill intent. I feigned surprise, greeting him as if he were an old acquaintance. He must have already known a lot about me. My brother had died mysteriously a while ago. My father, who went to collect his body, was so shocked that he fell ill and couldn't recover. My sister-in-law committed suicide for him, leaving behind 2 infants. My mother was at home caring for my sick father and the 2 toddlers. So, I had to graduate from the women's school, borrow money to open a flower shop, and find ways to make money. Even after the flower shop closed at night, I would go to the roadside to sell flowers. He didn't even look at the flowers. Just told his driver to load many into the car, saying he would buy flowers from me from now on. Naturally, I was immensely grateful. I handed him the receipt with the change rounded off. That will be $3. He took the receipt from my hand but kept looking at it, toying with it for a long time without speaking. Sir. I couldn't help but prompt. He looked up at me, his eyes deep, and said firmly, Sarah. Whatever you want, I can give you. You can give me the $3 for the flowers first. I said. staring at him with the wary gaze of someone afraid he'd buy without paying. I had no fear of him. Years ago, when he fled to New York and was almost starving, he met my grandmother and me selling flowers on the street. I felt sorry for him and gave him 2 cents. And even a string of jasmine flowers. At that time, he said he would stand in the most prominent position in New York City one day, so everyone could see him. He also said, "Sarah, remember, my name is Liam Yao. When that day comes, you must come find me. I will repay you." In truth, I always knew that this terrifying man was that boy. But before this, I never wanted to have anything to do with him. I even regretted giving him money to eat back then. It would have been better if such a devil had starved to death early. Unfortunately, there are no ifs. At this moment, he froze for a moment, then finally let out a wry chuckle, silently complying with my request and paying the bill. I couldn't just tell him everything directly. This encounter was nothing more than a small matter of repaying a favor. If Boss Yao was in a good mood, he might give me some money to send me away. If he was in a bad mood, it wasn't impossible for him to throw me into the Hudson River to feed the fish. When the power difference is so vast, one must learn to be circuitous. I was 6 years old when I met him. It was understandable that I had forgotten many things. But he was in his teens, so he must remember clearly. So, I would let him discover it himself. Let him remember the true kindness. Let him find out what he had done to his benefactor. As long as he had a sliver of conscience left, his gratitude and guilt would consume him, keeping his gaze on me for longer. That way, I would have a chance to do what I wanted to do. I painstakingly created the illusion that he was in the dark and I was in the light, making him believe that everything was under his control. Don't these kinds of people want to control everything? I'll fulfill that for him. After that day, Liam Yao started coming to see me very frequently. His attitude humble and polite. He even helped me out once. There was a young hoodlum who kept bothering my flower shop, and Liam Yao happened to see him once. From then on, the hoodlum never appeared again. Most likely, he was thrown into the Hudson River to feed the fish. After all, even other hoodlums nearby stopped walking down that alley. If they absolutely had to pass through, they would go around. Very good. It was worth all the effort I put into choosing simple, modest cheongsams that best accentuated my figure, and wearing white sneakers to subtly entice him. In fact, many times, even before he walked into the shop, I would see him from the window. I would deliberately walk back and forth in the gaps between the flower stands, poking at the flowers, my figure graceful. He remained calm and composed, chatting as usual. But judging whether a man is smitten is an innate talent for every woman. One time, he came right after I opened in the morning. The moment he saw me, his originally dark eyes suddenly lit up, his gaze lingering on me, almost a little foolish. He was like a fierce, large wolf dog that suddenly started wagging its tail begging for scraps. I pretended not to notice, only surprised that he came to the flower shop so early. He said he had been suffering from insomnia lately and wanted to buy some flowers to put in his bedroom, hoping the scent might help him sleep better. I told him that the scent of flowers stimulates nerves, and if he put fresh flowers in his bedroom, he would only sleep worse. His disappointment was visible, until I pulled out a small pot from the corner, with only 3 or 4 lavender spikes. and presented it to him. "This is for you. It helps with sleep." His eyes brightened. Probably not expecting me to give it to him for free. After all, when it came to money, I had always been very particular. I pressed on. "You can take this little pot first. A little psychological comfort is good. In a few days, I'll get more and make them into dried flowers for sachets to put under your pillow. That will be even more effective." "Are the sachets also free?" He carefully held the miniature lavender pot, looking at me with interest. His tone somewhat subdued but unable to hide his excitement. "Yes. You're a big client of my small shop. Consider it a thank you for your patronage." I smiled at him, both frankly and slyly. His steps were practically as he left. I thought it was time for Jackie Chan to make an appearance. Liam Yao had been coming too frequently lately. The second time I dragged Jackie Chan out of the ballroom to accompany me. The two of them met that afternoon. The sun was bright. Jackie Chan and I were watering flowers at the shop entrance. He was the spoiled young master of the powerful Chen family. I had spent a lot of effort to gain his trust too. Fortunately, young masters who are tired of seeing all the grand human flower usually easily take notice of a wild lily on a cliff. Especially a proud wild lily that he has saved. He thoroughly enjoyed this savior feeling, which helped him regain some satisfaction from his family's disappointments. We each had our own ulterior motives. Yet we tacitly considered each other confidants, talking about everything. Especially, he spoke without any reservations. When Liam Yao arrived, he happened to see Jackie Chan leaning into my ear, telling me a scandalous tale from the nightlife. I blushed and raised my hand to hit him. He laughed and dodged, accidentally splashing water on me. I stomped my foot in anger and splashed water back at him. We ended up having a water fight. I calculated my position, splashing water while stepping back, and then accidentally bumped into Liam Yao's arms. Looking back, his face was so dark it could drip water. But I pretended not to notice, ignoring the water droplets on my face and hair. Politely apologized, and then courteously invited him into the shop to look at flowers. I had given him a taste of sweetness. Now I had to make him realize that my intentions toward him were utterly innocent. Merely seeing him as a source of wealth. Things that are obtained too easily are often not cherished. Now it was time for disappointment, jealousy, and uncertainty. There was no other way. Men were ultimately masochists. They only appreciated things more when someone else was fighting for them. And Liam Yao was like a fierce tiger, aggressive and predatory. At this moment, he ignored my raised smile, just staring at me. After a long pause, he coldly squeezed out a few words, "You should go change your clothes." Then he turned and left without looking back. And I looked down at the large wet patch on my chest, my face truly red. Jackie Chan leisurely strolled to my side and hissed, "Did you see that?" He glared at me fiercely before he left. Probably a warning from the Hudson River. But I was sure he wouldn't easily touch Jackie Chan. The Chan family was, after all, a top-tier financial dynasty. Even if he had little presence in the Chan family, he still bore the Chan name. Moreover, Liam Yao had thoroughly investigated me. He should know that during my toughest times, it was Jackie Chan who helped me through. Even this flower shop was opened with money he lent me. And my misfortunes were entirely Liam Yao's doing. Jackie Chan came to find me very often. The Chan family was large and wealthy, And the uncles and cousins fought fiercely among themselves. He was the youngest and had the shallowest roots. So he could only pretend to be a dissolute playboy to others. But I had clearly seen him, in the midst of a group's revelry, suddenly retreat to the side. His eyes filled with loneliness and resentment. That's why I chose him. Speaking of which, in his perception, he thought I was approaching Liam Yao for his sake. One time, he got drunk and clung to me, rambling about his family's mess for half an hour, crying his eyes out. After he sobered up, I took the opportunity to suggest helping him seize the Chen family inheritance. I even had a complete plan. The most important step in the entire plan was to use leverage. I wanted to use Liam Yao's influence to deal with the Chen family's troublesome uncles and cousins, letting him reap the benefits. At first, Jackie Chen thought this suggestion was a pipe dream, laughing at me for being naive and saying I didn't know the immensity of the world. But after learning that I had actually gotten involved with Liam Yao, he fell silent. He even cooperated with me in acting. I knew that he was a Chen family member after all. All Chen family members were inherently selfish and mercenary. But it didn't matter. This was exactly the result I wanted. As for later, pie doesn't fall from the sky. What you get by luck, you will eventually lose completely by skill. At this moment, Jackie Chen was sitting in a chair, his legs propped on the table, tearing at flower petals and speaking sullenly. Liam Yao hasn't come to see you these past few days? No. Could it be that I overdid it that day? He seemed a bit anxious. No. I said. Very certain. In fact, I felt the medicine that day wasn't strong enough. So I quietly increased the dosage. The fresh lavender had been air-dried for many days. The tiny purple flowers completely dry. And the scent was wonderful. Making a lavender sachet was just right. I went to deliver the finished sachet to Liam Yao. I originally intended to have the doorman pass it on, but I ran into his driver, Old Lou. I had seen him many times. He was in his 40s or 50s. Steady and shrewd. Constantly scanning his surroundings with cold, watchful eyes. Always on high alert. I always knew his identity, not just a driver, but Liam Yao's capable subordinate. Fiercely loyal. Sometimes, those involved are blinded, while bystanders see clearly. I often worried that his cold observation would influence Liam Yao's thoughts. To my surprise, when he saw me, his eyes lit up, as if a long troubling problem had suddenly found an answer. I felt something was off and turned to run. But he gestured, and several people surrounded me, blocking all exits. Amidst the chaos, I heard him curse angrily. Damn it. Blinded by a woman. Forgot how he got rich. When they tied me up and threw me onto Liam Yao's bed, I finally understood what he meant. In the room reeking of alcohol, Liam Yao was sprawled on the bed, asleep, his brows furrowed, muttering, "Molly. Sarah." What a picture of sorrow. In fact, Old Lou was right. Seeing a woman and snatching her to throw her on the bed was standard practice for a mob boss. But I had meticulously crafted a rose-colored trap. Once caught in this trap, without the rules of money, anyone could only be dominated by their most primal emotions. I lay there quietly, staring at the ceiling, waiting for him to wake up. As the sky outside darkened, my eyelids grew heavy. Just as I was about to doze off, a hand reached over and pinched my cheek. instantly chasing away my sleepiness. I widened my eyes and turned to look at him. Just woken from a hangover. He lay on his side, propping his head with one hand. His bloodshot eyes tired and sorrowful. Mr. Yao. Is this a joke? Can you let me go back? I whispered. He closed his eyes, saying nothing. After a long time, he finally opened them. His voice extremely restrained. The jasmine flower in Miss Zhang's hair, at the Zhang mansion, was given by you. Wasn't it? Thanks to Liam Yao. Ever since he started frequenting my small shop, many people who would never have come before began to order flowers from me due to his influence. Mrs. and Miss Zhang from the Zhang mansion were even regular customers. The Zhang family's business relied on Liam Yao's power and had always wanted to marry their daughter to him. That day, when I went to deliver flowers, I saw that Miss Zhang had prepared a gown and expensive jewelry, planning to entice Liam Yao at the ball. I suggested to her not to wear jewelry or hairpins, but to wear a jasmine flower instead, as it would appear more elegant. More importantly, Mr. Yao loved jasmine flowers. Miss Zhang took my advice. As expected, this jasmine flower successfully provoked Liam Yao and broke his heart. But I feigned an innocent expression. Miss Zhang is naturally beautiful. The jasmine flower suited her well. Didn't it? A person's heart must sink to the very bottom, so that when it rises, it can be strong and turbulent enough. Liam Yao laughed in extreme anger. He reached out and untied the knot on my waist. Leaning over, his eyes red, and said fiercely, "Sarah Fong, do you really not understand? Or are you pretending not to understand?" I couldn't answer that question. I could only be utterly terrified, struggling desperately, crying and begging him to let me go. I had a house full of old and young people waiting for me to take care of them. I don't know how long passed before he finally sighed deeply and stopped. I sat up, still sobbing, my eyes misty, staring at him. This look of grievance, fear, and feigned strength had to be deeply etched into his heart, so that whenever he saw it in the future, he would remember this moment and allow me to have my way with him. In the end, he personally saw me out that day. We walked in silence. I had gone quite a distance, and I could still hear him throwing things and furiously berating his subordinates. But those were his trusted men, so they probably wouldn't be thrown to the fish. I actually thought they had unwittingly helped me immensely. After all, before I left, I accidentally dropped the lavender sachet by the bedside. In the following days, I continued selling flowers as usual. Until that day, Jackie Chen came running to me, bruised and swollen, fuming that he had terrible luck and ran into Liam Yao on a date. Liam Yao hadn't said a word, just charged forward and hit him. "Are you happy now?" Jackie Chen was both angry and resentful. I boiled an egg and applied it to his face, nodding with a smile. "The plan has been somewhat successful." "Of course. I'm happy." Jackie Chen, with one eye swollen, expressed his confusion. Liam Yao saw Jackie Chen on a date with another girl and was so angry that he beat him, telling him to behave himself in the future. He must have thought I liked Jackie Chen and was sticking up for me. In fact, in my and Jackie Chen's plan, he wasn't idle either. He had been secretly pursuing Emily Shen, the only daughter of Director Shen of the Department of Commerce. The reason it had to be kept secret was, firstly, that he was a notorious playboy. And director Shen wouldn't even marry his daughter to him if he randomly gave her away on the street. Secondly, it was to prevent the Chen family's troublesome uncles and cousins from causing trouble. The director of commerce, Shen, was a powerful figure. And if that identity were confirmed, it would be enough to cause chaos in the Chen family for a while. Fortunately, Jackie Chan had a handsome face comparable to a movie star and was skilled at sweet-talking and charming girls. He quickly won Emily Shen's heart, and they began a secret relationship. They went on dates every 3 to 5 days, always in secluded locations in the suburbs. There had been no mishaps. Their relationship was stable, just waiting for the right time to go public. Unexpectedly, they ran into Liam Yao. Jackie Chan was still hissing in pain. I loudly told him, "Take this opportunity to announce your relationship with Dr. Shen." He stood up in shock. "Now? It's now." I shoved the egg into his hand. "Be prepared to face the storm, my young master." He opened his mouth but said nothing. Since Jackie Chan announced his relationship with Emily Shen, he had been incredibly busy. Emily Shen cried, made a fuss, and threatened to hang herself, determined to be with Jackie Chan. Director Shen had no choice but to accept it and began to cultivate Jackie Chan. This change caused a huge uproar in the Chen family. The old man, the head of the Chen family, began to value this grandson who had always been a good-for-nothing. His other uncles and cousins began to grumble and cause trouble. Although problems were constant, the two families still successfully got engaged. Everyone thought I would be heartbroken. In fact, I was incredibly busy, even hiring several assistants and becoming a small business owner again. Because all the flower orders for Jackie Chan's engagement banquet came to me. To prepare those flower arrangements, I worked day and night. Too busy to even eat. Visibly losing a lot of weight. The banquet was held on a luxury yacht at the seaside. Flowers wilted easily, so taking them too early would make them less fresh. So, I could only arrange them overnight before the banquet. Jackie Chan said he would come to help me. But when he arrived, he stood in the center of the hall in a daze after only a few words. As I passed by him with a bouquet of flowers in my arms, he suddenly grabbed me and said blankly, "Am I really getting engaged? Once it's decided, it'll be." Scared, I didn't wait for him to finish what he was afraid of. He immediately let go and proudly puffed out his chest. "Whoever backs down is a wimp." Good. There's no turning back once the arrow is shot. Whoever backs down is a wimp. As the eastern sky was about to turn white, the work was finally completed. I paid the assistants and told them to go back and rest. After finishing the final touches, I was about to go home to sleep. But I encountered a minor problem before getting off the boat. Jackie Chan's cousin, Raymond Chen, had bothered me before. Seeing me close to Jackie Chan, saying I was a small sparrow fantasizing about flying onto a branch to become a phoenix. Jackie Chan had even fought with him over it. I didn't expect him to come at this time, saying that his elders at home had arranged for him to come and check the venue first. But he walked directly towards me, speaking mockingly. One moment he said I was enduring humiliation for my beloved, wasting away from the engagement banquet. And the next he cursed Jackie Chan for being heartless and not knowing how to cherish a beauty. Finally, he got to the point, "Why don't you forget about him and be with me? I'm the most caring." As he spoke, he reached out to pull me. I could only run towards the railing. Looking down through the bars. In the dim light of dawn, the dark water slapped against the side of the boat. Boundless. Like a monster ready to swallow something at any moment. Raymond Chin saw me retreating to the railing and thought I was cornered. He spoke lewdly, spreading his arms, about to pounce. I hugged the coat I hadn't had time to put on and sighed softly. I've seen people get up early to go to the market. But I've never seen anyone get up early to die. About a step away from me, Raymond Chin suddenly groaned and stopped abruptly. His expression was distorted with pain, fear, and confusion. His eyes wide as he struggled to look behind him. There was a tall figure. In the faint light of dawn, his face was unclear, but the aura around him was chilling. Raymond Chin opened his mouth, trying to say something, but nothing came out. The man gently raised his hand, and Raymond Chin, an adult man, flipped over the railing as if he were a mere object, lightly falling into the mouth of that monster, which was always open. He was instantly swallowed whole, leaving no trace. If not for a few drops of blood on the ground, it would have been as if nothing had happened. As I leaned against the railing, feeling myself about to collapse, the man rushed over and caught me. He pulled me into his coat, holding me tightly, patting my back, telling me not to be afraid. I had long known that he had been following me from a distance these past few days. So how could I be afraid? I tried to struggle free from his embrace, but he held me even tighter. He whispered in my ear, "I will never let you go again." I had waited for this sentence for a long time, but I didn't speak. I just looked up at him blankly, letting the tears that had been welling up for so long slowly fall, flowing straight into his heart. His eyes darkened, and he pressed me against the railing, kissing me wildly. The sky gradually brightened. The waves continued to slap against the side of the boat. I told myself that this was just the beginning. I had to endure. Our entangled lips finally parted. I huddled against his chest, scoffing. Did I just escape from a tiger's mouth only to enter a wolf's den? Exactly. You won't be leaving this wolf king's den, he said, looking down at me, his expression stern. But then he rubbed my face and chuckled. Do you know that the fiercest wolf king in the jungle only has one mate in his lifetime? Even a wolf king can be devoted. When he said this, it came from the bottom of his heart, so tender and affectionate that it was unlike him. Love truly was a bewitching drug, capable of making a cold-blooded devil speak the most moving words. What else could I do? I could only pretend to be shocked, moved, and then overjoyed, obediently surrendering to the Wolf King's dominant love. Like a small woman, Liam Yao was extremely pleased. Everything seemed to be under his control. I was also very satisfied because he surprisingly announced to everyone after Jackie Chan's engagement banquet that the 16th of next month was an auspicious day. And he was getting married. This was an unbelievably fast completion of the task. The only slightly imperfect thing was the sound of Jackie Chan's wine glass shattering on the ground. Fortunately, everyone's attention at the scene was drawn to Liam Yao, so no one noticed. I watched with my own eyes as half the city's elite congratulated him. Yet I only felt ridiculous. Thanks to him, I, who had been ridiculed the day before as a wild sparrow fantasizing about climbing high branches, was suddenly praised to the heavens. Even the usually arrogant old man Chen condescended to approach me. smiling amiably. I find Miss Fong very familiar. This was a common courtesy. But sometimes, the most ordinary words reveal the greatest truths. Meeting someone for the first time yet finding them familiar means either it's a great destiny or a great misfortune. Sorry, old man. The one standing before you now is the Chen family's great misfortune. Old man Chen's tactics in his youth were on par with Liam Yao's. He did plenty of bad things. To seize business, he didn't hesitate to ruin his opponents' families. I would never, ever forget the choking smoke that woke me from my sleep. The raging fire that consumed the little white mansion. And my dearest loved ones inside. My uncle and aunt. The house staff. Desperately carried me out, covering my eyes so I couldn't see. Later, I changed my surname to Fong and became the Fong family's daughter. When I was little, I always thought that one day I would openly seek revenge on the Chen family and reclaim everything that was mine. But gradually, I understood that on my own. Even if I started from scratch, working tirelessly without food or drink, I couldn't earn even 1/10,000th of the Chen family's wealth, let alone openly seek revenge. So, I started to explore other paths. At first, I thought of using Jackie Chan for something. Then, Liam Yao, that scoundrel, killed my brother. Suddenly, I had a plan to make them fight like dogs. And my only capital was myself. So, marrying Liam Yao? That was like you can't catch a wolf without sacrificing a cub. I, like every bride-to-be, actively prepared for the wedding, handling every detail personally. In my free time, I had a clearance sale at the flower shop. Everything except the owner was for sale. After everything was sold, I would close the shop. There was no need to keep it open. And my grand revenge plan would officially begin. Given that Jackie Chan's mind had been a bit hazy since Liam Yao announced his marriage, he actually wanted me to elope with him. He said he wouldn't be a young master anymore. Wouldn't want the family fortune. And just wanted to go somewhere where no one knew us and start a new life. He must have gone crazy. Coincidentally, after Raymond Chen disappeared, the Chen family's main branch was so anxious that they plastered missing person notices all over the city. I spread some rumors. And someone from the main branch immediately fabricated charges and sent Jackie Chen to the police station. Very good. He needed to go to a place like that to clear his head. And then he would clearly know what he truly wanted. Otherwise, if he angered Liam Yao and was thrown into the Hudson River to feed the fish, my subsequent plans would be difficult to carry out. Now it was good. I could concentrate on getting married. After he sobered up, I would find a way to get him out and formally begin. I didn't expect Liam Yao, besides gloating, to emphasize nonchalantly, "This has nothing to do with me." It seems that doing too many bad things can make one feel guilty. Of course, I chose to trust him unconditionally. Without Jackie Chan, the only variable, the wedding proceeded smoothly. After all, unless they were crazy, who would dare to cause trouble for Liam Yao? I successfully completed my identity transformation and became Mrs. Yao. This was not an easy job. Liam Yao was strong and robust, and blinded by love. I had a very hard night. But from another perspective, I was an adult, so I just made the best of it. The next day, Liam Yao went out on business, and I stayed home to rest. I kept hearing whispers, feeling uneasy. There were many maids in the Yao mansion, and I could always hear a few gossiping. It turned out that in their eyes, Liam Yao, who was like a demon, was still a catch. They felt he lost out by marrying me, someone without family or background. One maid said bitterly, "Just wait. Mr. Yao will get tired of her and throw her into the Hudson River." This was fun. That evening, I looked at the dishes already on the table and turned to ask the butler why he didn't wait for Mr. Yao to return before serving dinner. He casually said, "Mr. Yao is busy. He usually doesn't come back for dinner if he has engagements in the evening. Has he told you this?" I glanced at him indifferently and walked directly to the telephone, dialing Liam Yao's office number. He probably didn't expect me to call him. He excitedly shouted, "Sarah! Mr. Yao! Are you coming home for dinner tonight?" I asked loudly. "I have an appointment with the Chamber of Commerce chairman tonight. So, don't wait for me." Before he could finish, I quickly cut in. "Mr. Yao, you're a married man now. In the future, if you're not coming home for dinner, you need to tell me in advance. Otherwise, I won't know whether to wait for you." Then, without waiting for him to speak, I decisively hung up. The servants scattered around the hall, feigning busyness, exchanged intense glances, no doubt cursing me for being reckless and rushing to be thrown into the Hudson River. I ignored them, returned to the dining table, and ate seriously. I wouldn't let my stomach suffer. Just as I was about to finish dinner with a final bowl of soup, hurried footsteps sounded outside the door. Liam Yao swept in with a gust of wind, already tossing his coat to the butler, and quickly walked to the dining table. He sat down beside me, slightly out of breath, but his eyes sparkled. "I came back to have dinner with you." I didn't even lift my head. "I'm almost finished. Then I'll eat quickly," he said, completely unconcerned. I silently finished the last mouthful of soup, pushed my bowl aside. "Enjoy your meal," I said, getting up and going upstairs. He quickly put down the bowl he had just picked up and followed me, wrapping his arm around my waist, asking if I was angry. His tone doting, even with a hint of pleading, promising to come back for dinner every night from then on. Of course, I immediately calmed down. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the butler and several maids exchanging glances, their expressions quite complex. Now they should know how important this worthless Mrs. Yao was. Liam Yao was usually busy with work and wanted to find a bodyguard for me, fearing it would be unsafe for me to go out alone. This suited me perfectly. I complained that all his subordinates were men, which was inconvenient for going out, and suggested finding a female bodyguard. He praised me for being thoughtful. The next day, he brought home a plump, sturdy girl with a round face. "This is Jade. She'll be with you from now on." Jade was probably 17 or 18, smiling naively and looking very honest. She didn't look like a bodyguard. She looked more like a maid. Liam Yao saw my apprehension. He casually placed the cup he was holding on the coffee table, but accidentally misplaced it. Just as the teacup was about to fall, Jade quickly caught it and placed it back steadily. Liam Yao smiled with satisfaction. "Don't worry. She's clever." I quickly pecked him on the cheek and suggested taking Jade out shopping alone. Liam Yao and old Lou stood side by side at the door, watching us leave with worried looks. I knew that no one in this world was a completely solid block. Jade was old Lou's weakness. I had long since found out that old Lou's wife died early, and he had a daughter being raised by relatives in the countryside. Fearing she would be taken advantage of, he had taught her a lot of martial arts early on. But the girl was simple-minded but very diligent, never forgetting to practice her moves even while doing farm work in the mountains. When I suggested a female bodyguard, the two of them must have immediately agreed. Liam Yao had a suitable candidate, and old Lou could keep his daughter under his watchful eye. And I always had to open one loophole after another, accumulating capital for the future. I bought Jade several outfits and a lot of delicious food. At first, she was embarrassed, but after a few refusals, she accepted it frankly. She said that she had been fostered at her uncle's house since childhood, and her father did a small business outside, sending money back every month. But she had never worn a new dress. They were all hand-me-downs from her cousin. "Madam, you are better than my sister." Jade bit into a crabapple cake, her eyes crinkling with a smile. I also smiled. "Then you can call me elder sister from now on. I've always wanted a younger sister." "Elder sister?" she immediately called out brightly, her eyes clear. Her smile was so pure that I suddenly genuinely liked her. Jackie Chan had been in the police station for nearly 2 months. Some people wanted him dead in there, while others desperately protected him. As long as he didn't die, a little suffering would help clear his head. So, I hadn't interfered. When I felt the time was right, I took Jade and made a trip, bribed the guards a bit, and successfully went in to visit him. He looked relatively clean and tidy, but there were many wounds on his face and hands. There were probably more hidden under his clothes. It seemed he had suffered a lot during this time. He was no longer the spirited young man he once was, becoming cold and deep. He no longer spoke nonsense, only asking in a flat voice what I planned to do next. "I'll find a way to get you out as soon as possible." "Good. No matter what the cost. I must get out and settle accounts with them." He clenched his fists, making a grinding sound. To achieve something, one must have a fire in their heart. The fire in his heart must have been burning very fiercely. For days, I had been running around, desperately pulling strings to get Jackie Chan out. Finally, when Liam Yao heard about it, he couldn't maintain his composure and rushed back to question me. He rarely came home during the day. That day, I heard the car pull up outside from upstairs and guessed he had come back specifically for this matter. I took out a pot of jasmine flowers I had prepared earlier and quietly sat at my dressing table, stringing them into a bracelet. Liam Yao pushed open the door furiously, but at the sight of the jasmine bracelet, he stopped dead in his tracks. He slowly walked behind me, silently watching me string one jasmine blossom after another. His hand rested on my shoulder, his breathing gradually growing heavy. When the bracelet was finished, I turned to him with a smile. "It's done. I'll put it on for you." Of course, I didn't get to put it on him. Amidst the tumultuous waves, I glimpsed jasmine scattered everywhere. Like spring, all anger and questioning melted into murmurs and sighs. Later, I still seriously told him why I wanted to save Jackie Chan. He helped me. If it weren't for him, our family would have died after my brother's death. Liam Yao was guilty about my brother's death. Whenever I brought it up, He would immediately interrupt. He ruffled my hair and chided. You want to save him? Why didn't you tell me? Is there anyone else besides your husband who can do this? Heaven knows I searched everywhere just to find you. I was afraid you'd misunderstand, I said, lowering my eyes with an innocent expression. This man was moody. If I had brought it up directly, he would surely have resisted. Perhaps in a fit of rage. He would have had someone finish off Jackie Chan in prison. So, I had to take this circuitous route to make him act voluntarily. As long as he was willing, Jackie Chan could be released tomorrow, completely unharmed. Then, they could work together, joining forces to deal with the Chan family's uncles and cousins, making Jackie Chan the head of the Chan family. After it was done, half of all the Chan family's wealth would go to Liam Yao. This was something we had discussed long ago. As long as he brought it up, I believed Liam Yao would have no reason to refuse. Jackie Chan was, after all, a Chan family member and very familiar with everything about the Chan family. His relationship with Emily Chan also hadn't broken off. Given the opportunity, who would pass up immense wealth? Liam Yao certainly wouldn't. And now, Jackie Chan wanted to skin and disembowel those Chan family members. As I expected, things proceeded according to plan. Liam Yao had always been ruthless. But I didn't expect the spoiled young master Jackie Chan to be even more ruthless than I had anticipated when he turned vicious. These two were like the black and white fiends, not showing their fangs, but striking accurately and fiercely, tearing off pieces of the Chan family, leaving them in disarray and mourning like bereaved relatives. I couldn't even keep up with all the drama every day. By the time they realized that Jackie Chan and Liam Yao had teamed up to set them up, several branches of the Chan family had lost their businesses. Not to mention those who had died or gone missing, more than half of them were gone. I suppose the fish in the Hudson River must have been well fed. And Jackie Chan already held half of the Chan family's empire. Infuriating old man Chan to the point of spitting blood and swearing to clean house. The two sides had reached the point of outright war. At such a time, only a fool would get involved. Even a scratch on my skin would be a disrespect to me. The mastermind behind it all. I took Jade to the secluded cottage next door, where we rowed boats, watered flowers, and listened to folk tunes every day, comfortably watching the tigers fight from afar. Jade's face had grown rounder from all the food, looking adorably rosy. I didn't expect that in the midst of their fierce battle, Jackie Chan would actually come alone at night to find me at the secluded cottage. He was no longer the frivolous young master he once was. He had become gloomy, obsessive, and unpredictable. One moment, he stood tall and elegant, saying he was grateful for my brilliant plan that helped him turn the tables. The next, he immediately changed, grabbing my neck and saying I shouldn't have stubbornly married Liam Yao. That was too easy for him. Sarah Fong, remember this. You are mine. He bit my lip fiercely. Just then, Jade pushed open the door. He could only release me, licking the blood from his lip, and chuckled indifferently. Just kidding with my sister. Then he turned and strode away without looking back. I had been dozing in the wicker chair for a while. It was certainly gratifying that the little wolf cub had transformed into a man-eating demon. But the situation was still unstable. Liam Yao absolutely could not know about this. I had to keep Jackie Chan around until he became bigger and stronger, capable of contending with Liam Yao. Jade. I called her over. wondering how to make her keep silent. To my surprise, she stood there fuming, glaring at me fiercely. After a long time, she suddenly deflated. "Don't worry. I won't tell Mr. Yao." "Good. Thank." I hadn't finished speaking when she added, "I'm afraid he'll hit you." I was educated on new knowledge, in the countryside. A woman who flirts around will be beaten by her own man if he finds out. She squatted on the ground, resting her face on my lap, and sighed deeply. "Sister, don't play with fire. Mr. Yao. He'll really beat you to death." Mr. Yao was kind to my father. He told me to follow you and tell him if anything happened. But I like you too much. Sister. I'm afraid he'll hurt you. Oh. By the way, my father is old Lou. She rattled off all her little secrets like pouring beans. Ever since my brother died, my heart seemed to have hardened like stone overnight. But at this moment, it suddenly softened, and tears almost fell. Perhaps I shouldn't have pulled such a good jade into this chaotic situation. I heard that old mansion died suddenly. That day, I lit an incense stick facing east, comforting the souls of the 16 people of the neighboring family. At this point, the assets of the wealthy Chin family were divided into two. Even so, Jackie Chan's net worth still doubled, making him a new prominent figure in New York City. Coupled with his identity as Director Shen of the Department of Commerce's son-in-law, he was undeniably at the height of his power for a while. Liam Yao's assets had also doubled in just a few months, so he should have been very satisfied. However, he wouldn't be satisfied for long. The more Jackie Chan acquired, the more arrogant he became. His previous resentment about not being able to take me away would only intensify. He was like a fierce wolf growing rapidly in the jungle, occupying his own mountain but staring intently at the opposite mountain, ready to pounce and fight at any moment. To kill the alpha wolf and take everything. He would suddenly appear before me when no one was around, asking me to leave with him. "I must snatch you back." Once, he almost pulled me out of a third-story window. Or, appearing like a ghost, he would lean into my ear and whisper, "Come with me. I'll hide you somewhere Liam Yao will never find you." He was truly completely insane. I was almost going crazy too. Perhaps this was the backlash of karma. I had personally pushed him to this point step by step. I deserved to endure all of this. One time, I bit back, provoking him with words. "You want me to go with you? Then defeat Liam Yao." He smiled grimly and fiercely. "I will. I will. I must kill him to erase the mark he left on you." As for the level of madness, Liam Yao was no less. That day, we went to the tea house to listen to a performance. When we entered, a hoodlum caused trouble and startled me. To my surprise, he pulled me into his arms, covered my ears with one hand, and with the other, he had already shot the man in the head. It was so fast that the other party didn't even know what had happened, just standing there staring at him blankly. He lightly said, "You scared my wife." The man fell to the ground. He pulled me and leisurely went up to the second floor, as if nothing had happened. Both of them were crazy. Fortunately, so was I. After winter set in, I often felt unwell and was much sleepier. I saw a doctor, who said I was pregnant. I had been taking birth control pills, so if I was pregnant, There was only one possibility: my pills had been switched. I rushed back, took out the pill bottle hidden in my closet, and showed it to the doctor. The doctor expressed regret, saying I had been taking vitamins all along. When I first got married, I told Liam Yao that I didn't want to have children yet. He said to let nature take its course. I said, okay. Then let nature take its course. My let nature take its course meant secretly taking birth control pills. His let nature take its course meant switching my pills. It seemed we both believed in man will conquer nature. I sat despondently on the sofa, holding the remaining half bottle of vitamins. When Liam Yao saw them, he naturally understood what had happened. He was both surprised and delighted, letting me scatter the pills on his face without getting angry, just repeatedly apologizing. I knew he must be secretly pleased. In this world, there was no game he couldn't win. But one day, I would let him know what it meant to be one step ahead. After crying and throwing a fit, I could only accept my fate. Next, I entered a long and grueling period of morning sickness. I threw up everything I ate every day, feeling weak all over and unable to even get out of bed. Liam Yao was anxious. But morning sickness, even the most skilled doctors couldn't do anything about it. No matter how capable or arrogant Liam Yao was, he was still helpless. He would only lie on my stomach and talk to the baby. Little rascal. Don't torment your mommy. Otherwise, when you come out, see how I'll deal with you. My eyes were misty with tears, watching his serious expression. But I didn't feel a hint of softness. My brother used to lie on my sister-in-law's belly and say similar things. His tall, thin face always had a kind and cheerful smile. He said that no matter how hard or difficult things were, he wasn't afraid. And he would work hard to earn money so we could live a good life. He said, Sarah, you must study. No matter how poor we are, you must continue your education. But my wonderful brother was hacked to death with knives when they were fighting over territory. He didn't fight. Never contended with anyone. He was an accountant. He was just passing by that day. I lost all my family overnight, and had a high fever for days, almost dying. But the Fong family gave me a home. I had loving family members again. A doting brother. But all of this was destroyed by Liam Yao. My brother died. My father went to collect his body. Was so frightened by the horrific scene that he suffered a stroke and became paralyzed. My sister-in-law, unable to cope, followed my brother to the grave. The family was completely destroyed overnight. Every single day, when I opened my eyes and closed them, all I heard were the incessant cries of my mother and the two children. I hated Liam Yao as much as I hated the Chen family. Unlike the Chen family, Liam Yao was even more despicable. He climbed up from the most impoverished circumstances. Yet he never pitied those who were still struggling in the lower depths, even tormenting them. He deserved to die the most. Sometimes, I was truly glad that Liam Yao still had a sliver of humanity, that he could still feel affection. For 2 full months, he neglected his business and didn't leave the house, staying by my bedside every day, showering me with concern. This left Jackie Chen with too much space and opportunity. Without Liam Yao's absence, Jackie Chen would never have been able to overpower him. But now, everything was up in the air. Just when I estimated Jackie Chen's patience was about to run out, my morning sickness finally subsided. After 2 months of not having a proper meal, I could almost eat a whole cow at the dinner table. Liam Yao finally felt relieved and returned to the business world. Unfortunately, he was about to face many surprises, which made him frantic for a while. Jackie Chan asked to meet me, threatening to burn down the Yao mansion if I didn't come out. I crumpled the note, a chill running down my spine, but still went to see him. In the tea house, he stared intently at my belly, desperately trying to control himself. "Are you really pregnant?" I took a sip of tea and smiled at him. "Of course. I'm really pregnant. How else could I keep him busy and buy you time?" He closed his eyes suddenly, then reopened them, almost in a frenzy, actually crushing a white porcelain cup with his bare hand. Tiny shards of porcelain pierced his palm, and blood streamed out. But he seemed completely oblivious. He swore to God that he would dismember Liam Yao to vent his hatred. I felt the fire was stoked enough and planned to leave. But he suddenly hugged me from behind, resting his chin on top of my head, and said in a deep voice, "Sarah, you've sacrificed too much for me. When I kill Liam Yao, I'll find the best doctor to perform an abortion for you. It won't hurt at all." "An abortion?" I laughed sardonically. He earnestly confirmed, "Yes. Abort this bastard. We absolutely cannot let Liam Yao's child stay here. I chose him to use him." And later it became mutual utilization. But I had to admit that during this process, he did help me out of urgent situations. There was some affection, though not much. I had originally planned one last collaboration with him. And then after dealing with Liam Yao, we would go our separate ways and forget about each other. Now, it seemed that a madman who casually threatened to burn down houses and abort babies was a disaster waiting to happen. As Liam Yao and Jackie Chan's business disputes grew, almost reaching a boiling point, I arranged to meet Jackie Chan in the Jasmine room of the tea house. His current entourage was large, always accompanied by a dozen armed bodyguards distributed far and near to ensure his safety, even during dates. However, I didn't mind at all. After talking to him for a few minutes, I excused myself to use the restroom, then quietly left through the back door and went home to sleep peacefully. The reason I chose to meet at the tea house was because Liam Yao liked it and went there almost every week. Not because he enjoyed listening to plays, but because it was his only relatively clean establishment. Few people knew that he was the secret owner. I set up Jackie Chan to meet Liam Yao at the tea house. Liam Yao would know about it and rush over within 15 minutes. Imagine the scene: business rivalry, hatred for a stolen wife. He would surely come with the intention of pulverizing Jackie Chan. As soon as they met, it would be a major gunfight. They would fight and kill each other, ending up dead or crippled. It would be best if they both died. However, I never had the habit of joining in on the fun. I preferred to observe from afar and reap the benefits. Jade rushed into my room, telling me the tea house had been leveled when I was sleeping. I turned over and lay flat, staring blankly at the ceiling. Jade's voice was almost breaking. "Mr. Yao was in there too." They were both in there. I knew they were probably both dead. I finally got what I wanted. But there was no sense of gratification from avenging a great wrong. It was that little white mansion again. The endless dense smoke, the raging fire, burning my jasmine bracelet, my new family, my loving brother. So many things, flashing rapidly through my mind like movie scenes. But my heart felt empty. You're a widow now. She shook my arm, stomping her feet in agitation. I could only sit up and comfort her, telling her to look on the bright side. This was fate. There was nothing to be done. No matter what, one had to live strong and optimistically. Just as I was saying this, the door was suddenly pushed open again. My blood ran cold, and I froze there, my consciousness almost gone. Liam Yao was surprisingly standing there, perfectly fine, staring intently at me, his expression complex. This was going to be difficult. He always liked to wear black, and a black outfit made it impossible to tell if there were any unusual spots, like blood or water, on it. He waved his hand with a dark expression, signaling Jade to leave, then slowly walked towards me. 1 step. 2 steps. 3 steps. My heart was pounding in my throat. At this point, there was no need to pretend anymore. He must have guessed that I was the one who had brought him and Jackie Chan together, intending for them to die together. I put my hand behind my back, quietly pulling open the drawer of the dressing table. There was a palm-sized pistol in there. I had never used it before, but as long as I held it, I still had a chance. Sarah. Liam Yao completely ignored my movement to grab the gun, until he pinned me against the dressing table. It was then that I smelled the strong scent of blood and gunpowder on him. My hand ran over his back. It was covered in blood. He cupped my face, staring directly at me, smiling with difficulty. Sarah. Sarah. Why are you so foolish? You still don't know the password to the safe at home. All the gold bars, deposit slips, and deeds are in there. He exhaled slowly, saying, the safe is in the study. The password is the day we reunited. Old Lou will help you stabilize the situation. No one else will dare to do anything to you. He could no longer support himself, his body slowly sliding down, forcing him to crane his neck to look at me, his forehead bulging with veins. I didn't know how many times he had been shot. It must have been very painful. But he didn't care, pulling at the corners of his mouth, smiling at me, his voice full of pleading. I just want you to give birth to our child and love them well. Raise them. Can you? His eyelids slowly drooped, his breath faint. But his hand was tightly pressed against my belly. I clasped his hand, slowly moving it inch by inch from my flat belly. Finally, he collapsed to the floor like a massive object that had suddenly lost its support. I thought he had breathed his last. The Wolf King was indeed devoted. Even the most ruthless person understands deep affection. But your child is a child. And those innocent souls who died because of you, thrown into the Hudson River to feed the fish, weren't they someone else's children too? Liam Yao's safe held immense wealth. But on top of it was that lavender sachet. Many years later, I would still wonder, if my brother hadn't died by his hand, would I have succumbed to the Wolf King's deep affection? Falling recklessly in love? The answer is no. That brutal struggle back then was ultimately classified by the police as a street brawl, hastily dismissed. The victims' families had no avenue for complaint, not even the right to know the truth. That's why Liam Yao always thought I didn't know he was the one who killed my brother. But I knew. I always knew. And in my dictionary, Sarah Fong is densely filled with an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If it weren't for this, I would never have had any involvement with a man like him in this life. let alone love or not love him. Even during my time dancing with the wolf, I forced myself to remain vigilant at all times, never letting down my guard. That's why I knew Liam Yao had swapped my birth control pills. I had hidden another bottle in the bathroom, taking birth control after the vitamins. I couldn't allow a child who wasn't blessed or loved to enter this world. That would only add to the injustice. As for being pregnant, I was merely taking a certain herbal medicine that caused symptoms similar to pregnancy. Because I needed to stall him and buy Jackie Chan enough time. Thankfully, everything went as I wished. Later, with the help of Jade and Old Lou, I disbanded the gang, dealt with all of Liam Yao's and Jackie Chan's assets, donated a portion, and used the rest to open a charitable hall. Those in need could receive help. Living in a chaotic world, battered by storms. But since I came to this world, since I am alive, I must live up to this moment.